Good morning. Today is Sunday, November 19th, 2023. And this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast. So looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So this week, not a ton of movement. If we look at the month of October, well, this is November. We had January, February, March, April, May. Then this whole section. Nothing really moved for about 5 to 6 months until we got to October, and then you had a major move to the upside, and now we're in November, 2/3 of the way through the month, and really it hasn't been a ton of movement. But if you look at it, that's not abnormal. It's rare until you're finally in the bull market to see months that are just consecutively up and up and up. So you had January, and then you had a month of February that was pretty much nothing. Then you had March, which was a huge month. Then April, which is pretty much nothing. And then it continued that trend of, small movements for the rest of really until September. Then you had October, which was a huge month. I think the second biggest month of the year at this point. And then you have November, which isn't quite over yet, but it is still a relatively smaller move. Compared to some of the other months that we've had. So yeah, on the monthly chart, we are sitting right at 38,000. I'm going to mark that off. You have 38,000, which is a key level that I've been talking about for quite some time, basically being the next level that you would have some type of resistance at, basically being because you have like this huge gap right here that needed to be filled that hadn't been filled since between 30 and 38,000. That was a huge gap that hadn't been filled until the end of October when you had this huge move to the upside. So right now we're kind of battling 38K and then still kind of, seeing what the downside is. I don't think we'll go. I think the lowest that we'll end up going is right back down to about 31K before trying to rock it back up, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. At the moment, looking at the weekly chart, if you look at it right here, we really haven't gone anywhere. So this was 10:30. So this is basically, that's Monday, 10:30. So basically the start of November. That was a very small month. Then you had a huge move to the upside. I think some of this was part of the ETF narrative that we had. Ethereum ETF more so than anything, but anything that's good for crypto tends to be good for Bitcoin too. And then you had this past week, which, really nothing happened. And leading into next week, we're going into Thanksgiving week. So, you'll really have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for any type of potential movement. Then, Thursday, things will cool off, potentially picking back up on Black Friday. And then we'll go from there. But it's not outside the realm of possibility for there to be major price moves during Thanksgiving week. I still remember 2 years ago, waking up on Black Friday morning and seeing that price had just dropped drastically. So this was like 11:15, somewhere around here. Monday, 11/22/2021. So this was like pretty much around Thanksgiving of 2021 was the end of the bull market. We had just reached an all-time high in November, 69,000. And then from there, again, this November timeframe, it just started to crash. Started this crash and then fell back down to the, I guess this is the 100 moving average. Fell back down to the 100 moving average, bounced off a little bit, and then continued to break it down. It's not impossible for, these major holiday weeks to see some good price action. So we'll have to see. We'll see how that ends up playing out. But again, right now we're at that 38,000 line that I was talking about. So again, you had this imbalance right here. You had another imbalance right there. And then we'll take a look. So daily chart. Let's put the drawings on. So we're sandwiched in between two lines right now. So if I change this to 38,000, put that coordinate at 38,000. If you look at it, we've touched it twice. So we came up here, 38,000, boom. And then rejected to the downside. And then you tried one more time, came up to 38,000. Boom, major rejection to the downside. And then now we're just kind of swimming right here. So you look at a couple things. So you have that major move to the upside, and now you have this. You've created this trend line that it's, kind of been bouncing, and then it, it's tried to move up and bounced again. So what I'm thinking we could see, it's one of two things. You have this zone that's kind of, protected right here. This is all this in between was pretty much in balance right now. But what I'm really thinking you could see is it was a move back down to about 31,000. There's not really anything stopping it at this point. So, you have this zone right here. This is about as low as it could go. I would think is about 29,000, 30,000. At this point, we're just coiling. There's this coiling action that's going on right now, to where you could see it bounce up to 38K again before potentially breaking down to, I don't know, 33 or 31. But we'll have to see. Time will tell. Like if we come over here to the daily chart and look at where it came in the past, you get right around here. This is 39,700. 40,000 is a very round number. So, I mean, you could see some type of resistance there. Again, we're going into the holiday season at this point. It would take, in my mind, a pretty big catalyst for us to shift the momentum again to the upside, just to continue this upward movement, because again, this was a huge movement. This is one of the biggest moves of the year. So when you have big moves like this, it tends to take a lot of, again, economic activity. Retail investors still are not fully back in the space. So again, like once that happens, once you have institutional investors and retail investors looking at Bitcoin and the crypto space as a whole, then you will start to see a lot more consistent movement to the upside. But now I think we're in the period where we had a big move. The major thing that I've been talking about for weeks, if not months, was us breaking 32K. We did that successfully and maintained above it for quite some time. Actually for a couple of weeks at this point. So I think that's successfully been flipped. And even to the point that I changed this from a resistance to a support. And now you have a, supply zone right here. You have this, longer term resistance here. Oh, nope. That was just a double top. But if we go back over here and see what we have, you had kind of a support right here at 38K. You had a support, bounce off right here, support. It tried to break down here, support again. And still, so 38K on the dot has served as a pretty good support over time. If we look at it, you broke around here, you broke up to the upside. It's 38K served as a support. So yeah, this is actually a pretty strong level. 38,000 is. So even going all the way back to 2021, this is the beginning of the year. You broke through that and then came back down to retest it and then absolutely shot up to the upside. So this is the daily chart still. So in one day, it went up 19%. That's pretty significant off of that level. So I don't, at this point, just with these smaller candles, again, it took a lot to break 32K, but again, with these smaller candles and like attempt number one, attempt number two, it would have to take a pretty big impulsive move for us to do that. I think the only news that we're looking forward to before the end of this year is the potential ETFs getting approved. And again, that people are projecting that there's about a 90% chance that the Bitcoin spot ETF could get approved before January 10th. I think the deadline is January 11th for ARK investments. So I mean, if they realistically, they're getting very testy with the SEC, basically saying like, if you approve one, there's no reason not to approve them all. Obviously each application is a little bit different, but again, once you do that, then the floodgates will open in terms of institutional capital flowing into the space. You'll get retail re-excited again, and things will just kind of be off to the races. So beginning of next year should be pretty significant. So let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. I don't think there's really much use looking at too much here. Again, we're kind of stuck between this wedge right here. I personally think there's a lot more room to the downside than there is to the upside right now. A lot more momentum moving down. So again, like the moving averages have somewhat caught up to price at this point. So it's like, hey, we're here at this point. So it could go either way. So your 50 moving average, your 100 moving average, and your 200 moving average, they're all kind of right here. They're all sitting right here. 34,000 actually is a pretty good level as well. So let's go back to the daily chart. If I look at the daily chart, where's 34? 34 is right around here. No, it's still 35. If we're just calling it based off of wicks, 34.6 is a decent level. So, I mean, you shot up, shot down, shot up, and then resisted it for a while. And then it turned to support at this area and then shot to the upside. And then it, shot back down again right to this 34,000 level, and then moved to the upside. So, I mean, again, this will be the next level that it could test, about 34,000. And then if that breaks, then I absolutely see us going back down to 31,000. But so two moves basically. Break down to 34, see if that holds. Break down to 31. If that doesn't hold, then you break down to 31, 32. And then at this point, you could move up to 40,000. 40,000 would be your next move up to the upside. So I don't really have too much else to talk about at this point. Again, it's very much so a waiting game at this point. Again, with Bitcoin, you have these major moves, and then you may have periods of slow consolidation. Again, that is until we get into the bull market and things absolutely start moving consistently. That'll be pretty fun to trade at this point. But again, once you're in the chop, it's not nearly as fun, I would say. So yeah, again, that's pretty much it for this week. This has been Chris Talks Crypto. If you have any questions or you want to find any resources, check out christalkscrypto.com. Join the Pulse on Crypto Telegram group. And I will see you guys on the moon. Take care.